this here is my buddy's 1959 Ford F100 pickup. And on one hand, it might be the coolest truck I've ever seen. It's about 10 different colors, 13 if you count the various shades of rust. It's on 20s. And it's on air ride, so you can lay it all the way down. Really, like all the way, as far as it'll go. But on the other hand, it doesn't have a drivetrain in it. It really doesn't do anything other than just sit here and look cool. That's all right, because we're about to fix that. We're gonna swap in this 450 horsepower Coyote out of a 2023 Mustang GT and make her run almost as good as she looks. Now, there's basically not a single thing we can do to this truck until we figure out how that Coyote sits in this frame. So I figure, why waste any time? Let's go ahead and get this cab up off of here, mount our engine. Before we can drop this thing in, we do have to yank off some of these stock components. Number one is the AC. Ain't gonna be running any AC in this, at least not for now. And when the time comes to do AC, it's probably not gonna be with a stock AC compressor. Plus, what's that thing you're always saying, Fernando? Race cars don't need AC, right?
I never say that.
And another part we're gonna have to swap out are these aluminum engine mount brackets, and yes, I did just drop that nut.
You're supposed to hold it.
No, it's fine, we ain't gonna need that. And at that same time, we're gonna go ahead and get rid of these giant, bulky stock transmission cooler lines. Now, there's nothing inherently wrong with these lines. It's actually nice how it kind of contours under the transmission and up along the engine. Problem is, they're made for a Mustang, so there's no guarantee this is gonna come out in the right spot for this build. So we're gonna go swap them out for some flexible lines. Now we can throw our new engine mounts on here, which are just some thick sheet steel. It's been cut and bent, and they come with a billet mount to go to the car. It's a pretty slick setup. Now, this is kind of sweet. We're gonna have a lot of adjustability as to where we put this engine. It slides back and forth. I don't know. What's that look like, 6 inches, Deal?
I don't know.
Roughly. Now, the only reason we had to get rid of that whole water-cooled oil cooler assembly isn't because there's anything wrong with it, but rather because the way this front end set up with a 96 Thunderbird steering rack and a Crown Vic, or a modified Crown Vic front subframe, it was gonna hit right there. So this guy here is gonna position our oil filter straight forward. It's like a nice, slim, low profile under here.
We also have to change out our transmission cross member.
I guess it makes sense to go ahead and install little billet portions of our motor mounts to the subframe now before we put the engine in. Can't imagine that'd be very fun. These headers are just off the Mustang. They are long tubes for a Mustang GT. They might work, but they also might not work, and we're about to figure that out. They might fit.
Remember, we can always do this, which we're gonna need to.
All the way forward on motor mounts?
All the way forward.
All the way forward.
Yep.
I got bad news for you, buddy. You're gonna be buying some headers. So it was a real nice thought to try to run these long tubes that were for the Mustang. That way we'd save a little bit of money on the whole deal. But the suspension arm that you now really can't see because there's headers sitting on it, that is gonna be a problem. Because right now we still need to get this engine mount bracket down onto our actual engine mount at least another inch. And yeah, we don't have anything left to give. It's the same deal over on this side. We need to come down a good couple inches, and already the front of the engine's kind of tilted down a little bit. If we found some way to lower the front of the engine more and have those actually line up, the whole drivetrain's gonna be sitting like this, and that ain't gonna work. We do have this other 3rd gen Coyote we're about to take apart here, and this still has the factory headers on it, but also has cat delete pipes here. So given the way that's set up, this might actually be a better option. The swap headers for that truck are $1,700. So if there's something we can do to stop him from having to buy those, that would be ideal. Like maybe we can do something with this where we either build off of like right here, we hack it off and then build the rest of the exhaust, or even if you have to, you could probably cut this flange off and put a tighter like V-band style flange on there if we run into clearance issues. Maybe there's something there, that would be nice. But obviously we're not gonna know until we get that car apart. So for now, I guess we're yanking these headers back off. I'm gonna stick it in without headers.
Keep going, keep going.
Justin probably gonna hit first. Yep, I'm in.
You're through?
There we go. So we got our transmission mount on now. We need to make sure our drive line's down like 2 or 3 degrees. Angle gauge here really slowly. said really slowly, then just sent it.
It's not.
Yeah, it's good. I'm gonna have to add these little brackets onto the frame here. This is all that matters. The engine looks good, right?
Really good.
It's great.
Whoa.
There goes the oil pan. There that is. That's wild. The transmission, this much room right now. I gotta say, outside of that whole header deal, this fits real nice in here. And it's really cool that most of the accessories, like the alternator, that clears perfectly fine. You can see where that steering rack comes up right there. It clears our alternator, clears our engine mounts, of course. And now because we put that new oil filter housing on, clears that by a ton too. There's really no conflicts with the frame. There's a ton of room over here. And if you did want to run AC, if you wanted to put that back on, that doesn't seem like it'd be a problem either. Starter is good. Back here, there's just plenty of room for everything. One thing, though, that we definitely are going to have to modify and probably just ditch completely is that little cross member in the frame right there. As of right now, the drive shaft would run right through it. And obviously, that ain't going to work.
They don't make them like they used to. That's nice.
Oh, we weren't real sure how this was going to turn out, but it looks like where we have this engine situated right now, that firewall is going to hit not only the back of the intake manifold, but also over here, it's just straight up going to hit this driver's cylinder head. Not that we're trying to make him spend any more money here, but that Gen 3 manifold, it's got those little vacuum deals on the back of it. Those are going to be buttoned up against the firewall, so we got to thinking, what if we got a manifold without that? And on the same green Mustang that we might take the headers from, it's got a Boss 302 intake manifold. And while it's a lot taller, it looks like there's a lot more clearance behind it. So, you want to buy a Boss 302 manifold? Probably.
Justin picked up this Boss 302 manifold this morning, and hopefully it's going to allow us to get the motor against there without having to actually hit it with a hammer. Cake.
That looks really clean too. There we go.
So, it looks like we're still going to have to take a hammer to the firewall. Looks like we have clearance issues at the back of this valve cover, so we still need to move back about 1 inch.
That looks good. There you go. Hey! Well, now you have a transmission in the middle. Well, I don't think you're gonna have a gas pedal too.
I guess this is just one of the benefits of actually doing a swap for once, where you can just go and buy swap parts. You just bolt it all together and it actually fits. You're not trying to reinvent the wheel like we have with the K-Series Hellcat or even the Hemi-powered Supra.
So for our radiator, we've got a unit by Champion, and it's designed specifically to put Coyote engines into the F100 series chassis. So hopefully we don't have any issues with lining things up, clearance, but we're gonna find out.
And it's gonna save a lot of time too.
It's gonna save a lot of time. That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Next up here, we're going to install our fuel pump. And then we can move on to the rest of the fuel system. And he's already installed a pretty sick 22-gallon fuel cell, which is real street car stuff. It goes under the bed here. Probably the coolest part about it is it's made to use stock Coyote fuel pump hanger. It might not support 1,000 horsepower or anything, but that is a convenient setup. One slightly important note, when you go to install it, you should probably use the correct gasket, not the not correct gasket that we found in the dumpster into the groove like it's meant to go there because it's meant to go there. I gotta say, I haven't used a lot of these like custom fit aftermarket fuel cells. Just the one in the Supra, which was built to that chassis, but this thing is nice. It is a nice piece. So these engines from the factory, they're returnless fuel systems, meaning the fuel comes from the back, goes into the engine and don't disappear until it gets eaten up by said engine. But we're gonna make a small change here. We are gonna change to a return style system, which is the way we run pretty much every other car we build here, but we're gonna do it a little bit different. We're gonna use this factory return style fuel rail so you don't have to spend a bunch of money on a new rail. This is the nicest fuel rail adapter fitting I've ever seen. Shout out Ford on this one. There we go.
There you go.
This is one of the ones that isn't gonna burn your car down. Like some of those other ones that like screw together, don't want any part in that. And what we're gonna do is connect our fuel rail to this side port on the fuel pressure regulator. Now our other side port here, that's our line coming back from the fuel pump. So we're getting fuel coming in there and straight to the fuel rail. But unlike a returnless system, on the bottom of this regulator, there is a return line. This is really just a different way of accomplishing the same exact thing. Instead of having fuel go through the rail, come out the other side, and then have the pressure set and the rest bled off back to the tank, we're gonna be bleeding off fuel before it gets to the rail.
Y'all remember when I said this is a drop-in Champion radiator for a Coyote swap into an F100? Most of that's true, but it looks like we're gonna have to move our upper radiator hose. At least with the Boss 302 intake, there's no way to get the hose to route in the right spot to the center of the radiator. So I think we're gonna have to take it out again. Slice, weld, is what it is.
Now, one of the really cool parts about this build, and maybe I should like this a little bit extra because we get to go dumpster diving to accomplish it, is the brake setup. And these guys here are modified Crown Vic knuckles. See here where the caliper mounting holes have been drilled out and modified a little bit on them. This here is a new from the factory 14-inch Mustang rotor. And this guy here is a used Camaro SS Brembo off a wrecked Camaro we just picked up last week. Considering the amount of Fords we've got in the shop recently, and we have even more on the way, should probably stop making jokes about them, but there ain't nothing better than using some Chevy parts to go fast in a Ford, right? Or in this case, to stop fast, I guess. So no matter if you're a Ford guy or a Chevy guy, I think we can all just put the brand wars aside for a moment and just appreciate the fact that this is cool.
I mean, we all know Mopar.
Plus, it's Mopar, no car. Yeah, exactly. That's the point. And it does fit great. It ain't even close to rubbing, but it is quite unfortunate that nobody except us and, well, all you are going to know that it says Chevy on this Ford truck. Now, to get those fancy new brakes actually functioning, we got ourselves a universal 9-inch brake booster setup, which is about as slim as you can get without deleting a booster, and it clears actually by quite a lot. We're going to try to repurpose one out of like an older F150 or maybe some type of other car we had in the shop, but they all just turned out to be too big.
So in factory form, the brakes were right here, and we had a clutch system right here. But now we have a bigger motor and a booster instead of a manual brake, so we have to move everything over.
So factory clutch pedal, factory brake pedal, that's getting axed, right?
This one's got to go, because right now this one isn't attached to anything at all. And we can't make it a gas pedal. A little bit too much sweep to it.
That'd actually be cool.
Furthermore, this is where the gas pedal was, and that's not going to work either.
I mean, we can build a bracket right there off the transmission, I guess, which, you know.
Open tunnel?
Yeah.
Drill the bell housing and it's...
Nope. I don't think it's going to work. So we've got this nice pedal bracket from Fat Fender Garage. It adapts to the Coyote gas pedal and various different models of said gas pedal. And that gives you mounting locations for firewalls. I'm going to say that because I don't see any holes on this firewall that it mounts to, but it could mount to any flat surface, which is nice. Where it's going to go here, does it actuate? Yeah. So I think this is a GM steering column going into our Ford, but it seems to be a hodgepodge of parts here. We need to install this between the brake pedal and wherever we're going to put the gas pedal. One of the nuances to these older trucks, nothing's centered.
Wow.
Nothing is centered. So you'll notice the gap between these knobs is not the center of the gauge cluster.
You will think that it is. Oh, that's annoying.
Right.
What about burnout? There you go.
I'm gonna do a little bit of jumping around now because, as you can probably tell on what's going on back here, we got the green car stripped down, which means we may or may not have a solution to our whole header problem. So the one we just took off, that's the driver's side header. Usually when it comes to swaps like this, that's the tricky one because you have to account for the steering shaft and whatnot. But on this, we don't have a steering shaft in yet. So I think in this particular situation, this might actually be the easy one, at least until we get that whole steering setup in. You can see how close those runners sit to the cylinder head. It all just kind of goes back up and swoops that way. Where with this passenger one, they don't have to worry about that in the factory application, so they all just kind of come outwards. So I do suspect that this one might give us a little more trouble off the rip. So I'm gonna try to be smart about this and jack this thing up as high as we can before something starts hitting up there. I don't know what that something is, but I think we're about there. Feels like it got a lot firmer. All right, let's cross our fingers that this actually works. The $1,700 headers ain't really in the budget anymore. We've been spending and spending and spending on this thing. Actually,
Oh, okay.
hold on. It fits with the engine jacked up 3 inches.
Okay.
Now we'll see how much this thing flares out though when it's actually tight and seated. See how it looks once we bring it down, and rather than putting the engine mount bracket in and taking it back off 20 times, we're just gonna go until the oil pan is level with the cross member, and that should be right about where we need to be. I just heard something hit. Did you hear that? I bet I know what that might be. So this is the least precise way possible to do this. But we got clearance there, plenty of it. Nothing right there, nothing right there, and even less. In fact, it might be hitting pretty good right there where that weld is. So I think we're gonna have to do is pop this puppy back down and do a little clearancing. I guess this is as good a time as any, right?
Yeah.
If you find yourself tapped out on your project car, maybe a little tight before payday, or just in a regular old-fashioned pinch, you might want to check out the sponsor of today's video, Clover. With Clover, you can access up to $400 before payday, all with no credit check, no interest, and no late fees. Remember, Engine Master said this is okay. Plus, there's no monthly membership fee, or any nonsense like that required to get in advance. If we did this right, it's the last time this is gonna have to go in, so we're actually gonna put the motor mount bracket, engine mount bracket in this time. Oh, we're good. We are good. Look at all that room. Right onto the camera. To be able to get away with using these things instead of buying a set of $1,700 headers, or probably even worse, building them from scratch, that is a big old W. And hey, maybe you're doing a project and it didn't quite work out this way, or you just need a little breathing room. Remember, Clover's got you covered. Just visit the link down in the description so they know I sent you. Look at all that room there. Not only are we miles away from the frame rail, but probably more importantly, that is where the factory steering shaft comes out, and that is where it needs to connect to. This might not be the best representation of it because we don't have the steering shaft yet, but look where that's headed. Plenty of room all the way around. I guess we can see if we can keep pushing our luck here and also use these, like, what do we call them? Secondary pipes?
Yeah, that works. Oh, yeah.
That's...
It's hitting this right here. Yeah, correct.
Well, that ain't gonna be there when we're driving it.
Nope.
That'll work. Dude, look, that's like it's made to be. Look at that. Wow.
Yeah.
That's perfect. Now, not only does that pipe fit pretty great on there, we've also got another gift with this whole header setup. From the factory, only one of these headers has an actual flange on it. If you remember when we put that clutch in that yellow 2020 Mustang GT, that thing had the catalytic converter integrated into the manifold, and you said that's called a...
Manicat.
Or?
A catapult.
One or the other?
Yeah.
I kind of like Manicat better. Now, there's not a shot that that would have worked in this application, so we got really lucky in that someone has already cut that whole cat assembly off and welded on a 2-bolt flange to it. All right, fancy new 2-piece drive shaft here, which admittedly is one of the coolest shafts I've ever seen. This really is a slick setup, though. We got 1350 U-joints front and rear, and we got this little slip joint in the middle. The only other custom 2-piece drive shaft we've ever had made is the one in the Demon truck. Yep. And that's not nearly this cool. That's just a modified stocker.
Right, but it's holding up to good power.
It is, actually, yeah. This one is made from scratch.
Pretty cool that you can complement your body shaft.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, that's awesome.
What I'm thinking is we take a couple inches off here, and a couple inches off of this one. That'll pull these guys up tighter, get them above the transmission pan.
Now for the X-pipe of this whole deal, we're doing a little more repurposing. We actually snagged this off that really jacked up C5 Corvette. It's bent up pretty well, it's cockeyed a little bit, but we only need this 3-inch X-pipe in the middle, and that should save us like $100. You know, I'm not a professional fabricator or anything, but that looks like it's gonna fit together pretty nicely.
It is, especially considering the fact we have like 3 cars worth of components and then some new parts.
The new parts are the key there, probably. Actually, you know what? It'd be a fun task. I just combine task and test.
Yep.
Task. It'd actually be quite cool to try to build an entire exhaust system out of just scrap.
It would be.
We gotta do that at some point.
It would be. I've seen a couple on Camaros, though.
Oh, yeah. What a glorious assembly we got going on here.
Thin. Whoa! There you go.
That's not bad, man. All right, all the way levered out. What do you think?
Team is doing a great job with the pipes.
There we go.
As usual.
So we tuck this up as much as we can. That way, when he lays frame, we're not scraping our brand new mufflers either.
Yeah, if you get all the way up, they're a good, what, at least an inch above the rocker. So you can rip the cab off before you rip the exhaust off. That's all that matters here, right?
That's the idea.
Now, really kind of coming down to it here before we can turn that key and reasonably at least expect this thing to fire up and do something. And next up on the agenda is wiring. Now, the way this whole setup's going to work is we're going to use the factory Ford engine harness. Didn't really have to do much of anything to that. Got this nice little aluminum box here. It's made specifically to house this factory Ford ECU and make it look like, well, there's not just a loose ECU sitting in your engine bay. Tim welded a couple tabs onto the frame rail here so it mounts nice and solid. It ain't going nowhere. Now, 2 of our 3 ECU connectors, they come from that factory engine harness, but the third, that one would normally come from the factory body harness on the Mustang, which obviously we don't have. What we've done here is got what I guess we can call like a universal swap body harness. It's got that third connector, same as the Mustang body harness. And while we really haven't started digging into this thing too much as of yet, it's supposed to be just a real like plug and play type affair. That's the other large connector that comes out of our engine harness there. Got that little single pin connector down there, and it looks like that one. Really, there's just a few odds and ends, call it like 10 wires total that you actually have to wire yourself. It also came with its own fuse box assembly to make the whole deal even more simple, and probably the best part is like 1/10 of the size of the factory Mustang fuse box. I wanted to get a little tricky with this whole fuse box deal, and rather than having it sitting in the engine bay somewhere with a bundle of wires running to it, I decided to go ahead and cut out that little flat piece of metal of the forward bulkhead firewall type deal, I guess we can call it. I don't know. Either way, this way, it looks like it's just kind of coming out of nowhere, and then on the wiring, we can just cut a hole, say, right here, and run it back to the engine bay way down low where it'll meet up with all this stuff. Those are highs or lows?
Lows.
Okay.
We don't have highs because the switch doesn't have it.
No highs.
That's kind of important.
Nice. The wiring before, the wiring now. And one of the main things we got to do here to make this truck functional is get some sort of trans tunnel set up in it so we can slap a shifter right about there and actually drive it. And Justin had his buddy fabricate a trans tunnel that gives us like 8+ inches of extra clearance up towards the bell housing. We covered it in license plates because it looks cool. And now we just got to slap this shifter on, which we got to put it in the car and be one step closer to getting on the road. The truck. I can't fully assemble this thing until it's in the car and wired up. You got 2 gear levers. You got one to select park, reverse, neutral, drive, manual, all that fun stuff. And then you've also got a slap shifter on it. Nice. That looks good. That looks really good. Hit that gas pedal. The gas pedal still work? Yeah. Nice. Nice, you said it. Now we gotta get our shifter cable set up, which, as I'm doing this, I realized it would have been much easier to do when this was out of the car. Gotta get this whole shifter set up functioning, we gotta connect it down here at the transmission. And to do that, we gotta make just a few changes. Number one is a shifter cable bracket that goes on the side of the transmission. The factory one uses this like clip-in style, has a big plastic retainer on it. We don't need that anymore. We'll swap out to this aftermarket one. It's made to fit with our new shifter cable. It has a lot of adjustment on it if we need it. We also gotta change the stock shifter arm, or lever, whatever you wanna call it, because it's made to accept, if I can get it off, I'll show you, the stock style cable and our new one. Don't work with it. All right, so we're all the way down in manual right now. Hit drive, neutral, reverse, and park. All right, well, it functions properly. We might have to do a little bit of adjusting here. You never really tell until you get the thing actually started and see how it works, but I guess we'll call that finished for now. You about ready?
Oh yeah.
Oh, sick shirt, buddy.
Oh, thanks.
Where can you get those?
I don't even know. What was
What
it?
the fuck?
Oh, God!
Perfect
Yeah,
picture.
that's great. He's your buddy, right? Wow. It's
Is it scrap gear?
no.
Oh, I don't know that.
ScrapShop.com. All right.
Thank you. Thank you for a proper plug. All right,
No
thank
problem.
you.
No problem, buddy.
Gotta say, this ain't the most convenient fuel fill setup, but hey, I want to drive this thing, right? Want to get started. Got no time for a filler neck at the moment. Of all the swaps we've done, this one should go perfectly fine. You think about
Don't call it
It's
this
just a
is.
stock ECU, got
Yeah.
a little Lund tune on it. It's a really simple setup. It's just in an old truck, so it ran in that 23 Mustang. Ran really well, actually. That was a sick burnout. You remember that?
100%.
Now we just got to do the same thing in here. So all we're working with as far as gauges go at the moment is this little Lund LRX tuner. It's like the size of the palm of your hand. What's gonna have to do for now because we ain't got anything else. You ready? Yeah. All right.
You
I
look
guess
nervous.
just turn the key and see what happens. That's all we can do at this point. Hey, that's good.
That
That's
was
still
bad,
good.
yeah.
That's good.
Fuel pressure's 40 right now. I think we want in the 50s, 55 for this engine. Don't quote me.
Yeah, I have no idea. That sounds about right. Direct injection gets weird.
There we go. Whoa.
That actually sounds okay too.
Really
A decent
good.
sounding Coyote. Usually there's more drama here. Like if something's supposed to go wrong, or we're supposed to be chasing a leak, or oh no, X happened. Not really. No, we just took it out of the Mustang, put it in here, and everything seems fine. It's quiet. It is.
Sounds good.
We had a little bit of smoke off the rip, but even that burned off real nice and quick. It just sounds good. Okay, so there's nothing to fix.
Right.
Yeah, I guess, yeah, let's see how, give it a rev and try to pull it back and forward. Doesn't sound bad. That really doesn't sound bad at all.
There we go.
Right about there. Throw it up on the lift, make sure it's not leaking from underneath, and if it's not, good.
195.
Take it for a drive.
184 if it's a control pack tune. Gen 3 is right at 192.
Hey, there we go.
204.
All right.
204 is the answer.
That's fantastic.
That's a little late. That is fantastic. I'm gonna kick you.
We're sitting here debating for the last 20 degrees when the fan's gonna come home. 204.
Don't worry.
That's from earlier, right?
Yeah, that's from earlier. They all do that.
Yeah. Typical Coyote plastic oil pan things. Man, otherwise it looks real nice under here. We might also found the one muffler that makes a naturally aspirated Coyote sound good. We'll see once we're out there full throttle in it, but for now, it don't sound bad at all. I guess this is kind of what happens when you do an engine swap, and it's basically a factory setup, not some max effort, 1,000 horsepower, ragged edge type build. It just goes smooth. It sounds stock and runs like stock because it is stock. want to get in for this? There's plenty of room in here. You want to hop in?
I'm good.
It's a little cramped.
This thing's just like a daily driver already. You know, for a 1959,
Not bad.
just to get in and go like this, don't hit that car. It's pretty nice, ain't it?
That didn't sound good.
We just ran over something. It was a stick.
Well, the front end just lost air. Alright, let's stop this side to the fan. Yeah, imagine you're out on the road and...
Oh! That would be scary.
So, to be fair, this thing's still on shop air at the moment. She's got these lines tied up. One of them was tied to the radiator fan and it melted. So,
Whoopsie.
this really ain't that bad.
not
For
bad.
a first drive especially, this is really not
For
bad.
you, I'm not as comfortable.
That trans tunnel really kind of ruined the center seat, but you know.
Yeah.
Dude!
Not bad.
That is quick!
Not bad.
That is quick! Oh my god. That's the scariest 400 horsepower car I've ever been in.
Get me out of this thing.
That's a lot of weird noises.
Yeah, it's a 59, buddy, okay?
Yeah.
We're trying to talk him into turbos. This thing will be
Yeah.
terrifying with turbos. Want to test out manual mode? That's nice.
Nice.
Dude, this thing's cool. It's really cool. Ready?
Yeah.
Not much bed space to this thing. Otherwise, pretty sick. It's in your money.
Woohoo! Solid. Bravo!
#55 first drive.
Perfect.
Great.
Yeah, awesome.
Doesn't flop around on the air either.
No.
No, this has been a surprisingly successful and kind of quick swap. Again, I don't know what I really expected since we do all these swaps that are just a little more complex and stupid, frankly. But for this one to just go this smooth, to put it in there, to start it up, to do the first drive, and then take it out on the highway and take it 10, 15 miles without a single hiccup, even though all the tuning's not sorted out yet, it's just different. It feels weird. Now, I think the plan is, for now, with this thing, is take it back to the shop, finish up some loose ends, like these new Dakota digital gauges we just slapped in it. Then Justin's gonna take it home, drive it around all summer, have a good time in it, work out all the little kinks, and then it's coming back for turbos, you said? Turbos, twin turbos, multiple turbos. Turbo about right there, another one about right there. Maybe coming in through those headlights will look real, real cool. I'm nearly certain this is the only time you'll ever hear me say this, but if there is a chassis or a build that doesn't actually need more power, it's probably this thing. Is terrifying with the 420-ish horsepower it makes. And speaking of that, we're gonna bring this thing back in a couple weeks. We're gonna throw it on the dyno and get an actual number on it. So whenever that happens, I'll put the link to that video down in the description. What do you think this makes? 420, 430?
That 420 was gonna be my guess, but I would say 410.
It's something like that, right?
410.
It's a very
Yeah.
narrow window
Yeah.
what this can be. Winder. These things are supposed to be 465 to the flywheel or the crank from the factory. Haven't really done much to it. Got the intake, got the Boss 302 intake manifold on there, and I guess a cat delete. Send her off right. We need to build an old truck. We're definitely building an old truck.
No air.
Well, that's all that I was just saying about problem-free, no issues.
Unreal. Unreal.
Why'd you hit that pothole?
It wasn't a pothole.
Owen, did he hit a pothole? You say you were going to air it out on the highway. This is what you meant? I thought you were talking about something else.